Okay, good afternoon. So today we're looking at the grade 11, paper 2, November 2021. It was a Sansusi paper. It was set by Miss Dixon. Okay, this was last year and you guys wrote this paper. Alright. So the first question, question 1. We are told a group of grade 11 learners was asked how far they traveled to school each day. The distance around the nearest kilometer are given below. We are given 2, 23, 14, 8, 30, 6, 31, 27, 18, 7, 12, 9, 11 and 12. The question says, determine the mean distance traveled. Now, there's one of two ways of doing this. It's either going to punch in the calculator, type each number in the calculator and then divide it by 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Divide by 14. Okay. And we'll get the correct answer. However, the second question was for the standard deviation. Can you see that? So for the second question, anyway, I must substitute in the calculator. Not so? And by doing so, I can calculate the mean by a tick of a button. Press the one button. It will be a button away. Not so. So what I'm going to do is I'm rather going to then, in that case, work out the mean using the application on the calculator. Okay? So we need to program our calculator first. Alright? We need to program our calculator first. Do you guys remember how to program the calculator? Yes. We press 1. No, mode, sorry. Then step. So follow on your calculators as well. Which is 3. If you don't remember, please write it down. You need to know this for your exam. Okay? So it's 3. And then we calculate the variance here, standard deviation. It's the square root of the variance, which is 1. So I need somebody to call out the numbers. It's going to be 2. Then I press equal to. 23 equals 14, 8, 30, 6, 31, 27, 18, 7, 12, 9, 11, and 12. What do I do now? AC. In that case, I'm storing the information on the calculator. Then, shift 1. The reason why I'm pressing shift to activate any yellow key on the calculator, you press shift. Any red or maroon key, I press the alpha button, the one next to shift. Okay. Shift 1, 4 for variance, 2 for mean. Number 1 tells you if I press that, I'll get 40 now. So that's a number of entries, so data points I've entered. So I press 2 equals. The answer is 15. You all agree with that? So x is equal, the mean is 15. So with the standard deviation, again press shift 1, 4 for variance, 3 for standard deviation. 8,99. You all agree with that? Okay. So this is your symbol for your standard deviation. 8,99. Okay. Then 1.1.3 also a common asked question. What percentage of learners lie within one standard deviation of the mean? So what we do is we set up a range here. We say our mean minus your standard deviation value and your mean plus the standard deviation. So in other words, it's going to be 15 minus 8,99 and 15 plus 8,9. What are those two values there? What do we get? Sorry? 6,01, 23,99. So the question says, what percentage of learners lie within? So what do I need to do is, I need to count the values that lies between 6,01 and 23,9. You guys understand? So, does 2 lie between? Is it inside or outside? Huh? Outside. 23? Inside. Remember, it's between these two values. 14? In. 8? In. 30? Out. 6? In or out? Out. It's just about short. Not so. That is less than 1 standard deviation. Okay. 31? Out. 27? Out. 18? In. 7? 12? 9? 11? 12? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So therefore, 9 learners lies within 1 standard deviation of the mean. Normally the question says how many learners lies within 1 standard deviation. But that wasn't the question here. What was the question here? The percentage. How do I work out the percentage here? It's going to be 9 over 14 times 100. So work that out. 9 over 14 multiplied by 100. That gives us an answer of 64,29%. Okay. Any confusion? Everybody sign the register. Huh? Thank you. Okay. Yes?
So, but if you ask the learners, the percentage of learners that lie within 2 standard deviations.
The question is, what if the question had read what percentage of the learners lies within 2 standard deviation? Then what you do is you put a 2 here and a 2 here. So you take this number and you multiply it by 2, you get a bigger range, then you count those values. Okay. If the question says what percentage of the learners lies above 1 standard deviation of the mean, lies above 1 standard deviation of the mean, we then count the values that lies above that value. Understand? What if they ask you how many of the learners lies below 1 standard deviation of the mean? We then count the values lower than 6,01. If they ask you how many learners lies outside 1 standard deviation of the mean, is everything except values between those. Do you guys understand? Makes sense? There's just different variations on it. However, this, as it comes in here, is the most common asked of the variations. Okay? Do you guys understand? (1.2) In 1.2, the question says the table below represents values in a data set written in ascending. What does ascending order mean? What does ascending order mean? Smallest to biggest. Okay, ascending order. none of the values in the data set are repeated. So none of the data set values are the same. Determine the values of A, B, C, and D if it's given that the median is 20. So what is the median? The middle number, the middlemost number of sorted data. Is ascending data in order? Yes. So how many values are here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 values. So the fourth number is the number in the middle. Okay? If you didn't know that, you can play a little game with yourselves. You put your finger on the first number and the last number. You go. Second and second last. Third and third last. And you see there's one number in the middle. So B is your median. So that is 20. Will you agree with that? The interquartile range is 16. What is interquartile range? It's going to be upper quartile or quartile 3 minus quartile. The interquartile range is 16. Do we have a Q3? Remember, this is now part of your bottom set and that is part of your top set. Not so? So now, your Q1 is A, your Q3 is D. Where's Q2? What is Q2? Your median is also Q2, not so? So in other words, we got Q3 minus Q1, so in other words, D minus A is 16. So that's equation 1. Definitely going to simultaneous equations here, 1? 2 unknowns, A and a D. Okay. The upper quartile is twice the lower quartile. Upper quartile is twice the lower quartile. So which quartile is bigger? Huh? Q3 is bigger. Okay. So for the red bullet, the upper quartile, Q3, is twice the value of the lower quartile. So in terms of A and B, what do we have? A and D, sorry. D is equal to 2A. It's equation 2. Can I solve for A and D at this point? Huh? Yes? It's enough information. You have 2 unknowns and we have 2 equations. So let's solve for A and D. Before we read any further, I can then say therefore, and substitute equation 2 into equation 1. It's going to be 16 is equal to 2A minus A. 2A minus A is A, so A is 16. So what is D? D is going to be 2 times 16, which is 32. Alright? Oops, the wrong one. 32 and 16. So what do we still need to solve? C. C is the only one we still need to solve. Okay, just remember, B we already solved. We have solved D. We solved A. Okay. Then, the third case we are told that the mean is 22. How do you calculate the mean? Sum of all the numbers divided by the number of numbers there are. Not so. Sum of all the numbers divided by the number of numbers. So, this would simply be 5 plus 16 plus 19 plus 20 plus C plus 32 plus, and it's all over. How many values are here? 7. It's going to give you a mean of 22. Can you see that, people? So you put on your calculator. You can do it in your head. 5 plus 16 plus 19 plus 20 plus 32 plus 35. 127 is 127 plus C over 7 is equal to 22. So I cross multiply. 22 times 7 is what? Sorry? 154. So C is equal to 154 minus 27. Sorry? 27. So that C value is 27. Does it make sense, people? They ask yourself, it's so easy. Why did I get it wrong?
So,
Yes.
is there other way to find DNA?
DNA. Not that I know of. What way do you suggest you could use? Not that anything that comes to mind at this point. Any other questions? Yes, Michael?
So could you explain the third bullet?
The third bullet. The upper quartile is twice the lower quartile. So whatever the upper quartile is, whatever the lower quartile is, it is the upper quartile is twice as big. So we don't know what the value of the lower quartile is. It's most in variable form. That is why we say the upper quartile is twice the lower quartile. The lower quartile is A. So the upper quartile has to be 2 times A. You understand? And that is where this fits in. Okay. Anything else? Because remember, they want you to set up an equation so that you can solve the equation. Okay. Any other questions? Right. Let's carry on. Question 2. In question 2, we are told that the student conducted a survey amongst his friends and relatives to determine the relationship between the age of the person and the number of marketing calls they received. Do you guys receive marketing calls? Not yet? No. From the colleges? Not yet? You'll get that later this year, no? When you register, you give them your number, they're going to call you all the time. No? They want you to come study by them. Yeah, but us again, the older you get in the market-related calls, they want you to make debt. No? And they give you credit. All those calls is dangerous. Okay, that's the job, no? Marketing calls they received within 1 month. The information in the table is shocking. You'll see now. So the age of the person in the survey, they were categorized from 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50 and so on. It's in increments of 10. So it's increasing by 10 per slot or per category. Okay. The first question says complete the frequency and the cumulative frequency column in the table given. So how do we normally work out the cumulative frequency table? We take whatever this number is, we transfer it there, which is correct. Not so. Then we say 7 plus this number gives you that number, which is 27. So what is this number here? 20. Then we say 27 plus 25. What's 27 plus 25? 52. So that is 52. Not so? So 52 plus that number there gives you 64. So what is this number? 64 minus 52 is 12. Then 64 sorry, plus a number is 72. What's the number? Huh? 8. 72 plus 4 is what? 76. 76 plus a number is 80. The number has to be. And they have completed the third. Okay. Anything difficult there? No? Whoa. As your cumulative frequency table, also a common ask you. You see, in stats, there's not much that I can ask you. Not so? Not much. So it's the same type of questions that gets repeated all the time. Okay. The next question says, how many people participated in the survey? How many people participated? We took part in the survey? 80. No? 80 people. Write down the modal class. What is the mode? The most common recurring number. In this, the modal class is the class that has the most in. Not so. And in this case, what is the modal class? In the first category, there's 7. Second category, 20. 25. Can you see? So there's 25 in that category. So what is the modal class? X is greater than 40, but less than and equal to. You guys understand? The next question says, I'm going to take this off here. I can bring these questions up. So the next question says, draw an ogive. Another word for ogive is a cumulative. What is the ogive? The ogive is a cumulative frequency curve or cumulative frequency polygon. Means the same thing. Draw an ogive to represent the data on the given grid. Okay. So the grid wasn't given to me. It was given in the answer book. Okay. So I'm just going to prepare a grid for you quickly. Just get the grid here. Graph, as I am. And I would need your help now, no? Okay, as you can see, I don't see the table, no? Or can you guys see the table on the board? You're saying? Yes? That's the graph, the grid. That's a cumulative frequency table. Do you see the table? No. Okay. I thought maybe you're seeing stuff that I'm not seeing. Okay, so very importantly here, on the side you will always have your cumulative frequency. Not so. And here we will have our interval. In this case it was the ages of people. Okay? So that went 20, 30 and so on to 90. So you go 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. So it's enough to go with twos. Huh? I could have even go with every third one. You see if it works before I go in that direction. So it's 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Why do you think I want to get it as big as possible? Because the bigger the graph, the more accurate it will be. You guys understand? So if I start here 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Okay. Here the graph is broken and then we'll get 0. Okay. In this case actually not broken. Just 20. That is. Because why that unit there is not going to give you 0. Okay. That's the idea. But your cumulative frequency, the highest is 80. So I can go with units of 10. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Okay? How much did I go? 10, huh? So I can say 9. So I can go one list. 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54, 63, 72. Am I counting right? Yes. 81. And 80 is the biggest. Okay. If I'm going to make it in tens, it will be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Will be one list. So if you had gone make it and made it tens, no problem. If you had made it eights, it would even be better. Okay, because then the sum or the graph will be better represented. Do you understand? So we're not going to make this 20, 40, 60, 80. So a small graph and all that stuff is crammed in. Okay, we try and make it as big as possible so that it will be more accurate, because we are definitely going to read off this graph as well. And that's the idea why we're making it as big as possible. Okay. So remember, when we plot the following. Okay? We are going to plot the end point of the class, which is 30, and the cumulative frequency, which is 7. Then we have 40 and 27. Can you see that, people? We have 50 and 52. Then we have 60 and 64. Then we have 70 and 72. Then we have 80 and 76. And 90 and 80. You guys understand? See any confusion? No confusion. Okay. So I'll need your help to read those values out for me, no? So I'm not going to see the values now. Okay. What is the first value? 30 and 7. So remember that one there is 9, no? We can't be on the line. It has to be 2 less than that. So just by approximation. Alright. Next. 40 and 27. So it's on that line. Next. 50 is on the 50 and 52. 54 is on the line, so it's too shy, too short. 60 and 64. This is what? 54, 63. You guys must write neat them in. What's the number?
64.
64. One more. No? Next. 70 and 70. And then 80 and 76. 80 and 72. 76. About there. And then 90 and 80. Remember that line is 81, so it's just about short. Right? You guys understand? So what we do is we connect without a ruler. If you're going to use a ruler, immediately you lose a mark for the shape mark. Okay? You take this, put freehand, connect the dots. We do what we do best in life, no? You one friend side, the other friend did something, and then you just connect all the dots, no? You make a whole story out of it, and then you know what you guys normally do in the quad. Okay. Is that all the past?
Yes.
Oh, it's not you guys, I'm sorry. People, listen. So now, we draw this graph freehand. Alright. So we say, okay, we always ground it to this value here. To whatever that value is. We ground it to that value. So in this case, we're going to ground it to 20. We take that and we put it in. And there we go. That is your cumulative frequency polygon. Your ogive graph. Okay. So let's look at the next question. It says, use the ogive, which means to say use the graph that you've calculated, or drawn, sorry, or sketched, to determine the median age of the person receiving marketing calls. So, what is the median? It's the middle number, not so. The middle number of sorted data. How many people are here in the survey? Huh? 70. 80. There are 80 people in the survey. What's the half of 80? 40. So this is by approximation. We go. Okay, this is 36. That's 45. There's increments of 9. So it's just about there. Not so? About midway. 40. I take a ruler. Can you see me using a ruler? Yes, good. And what do I do with that ruler? As it hits the curve, I turn it and I go down here. And I take that reading there. Can you see? So we read here, that is 40, that is 50. Does look like it's in the middle of that. No? What's in the middle of 40 and 50? 45. Looks like you guys are going to do very well in this grade 12 exam. So you guys know it's 45. It's in the middle of the two. It's plus minus 45. Now everybody's curve is different. Not so? Everybody have a different curve. Not so? So some people is going to get 44. Some is going to get 42. Some is going to get 49. If their graph is right, do you think they will get a 60 odd? A 50 odd? No. A 39 odd there, 30 odd? No. The value that they will get will definitely lie between these two values. Why? Because it is to do with the intervals. Okay, with the boundaries of the intervals. Does it make sense? So whichever way, so when we mark this question, we see, okay, what does their graph look like? Can we give them the mark? Remember, the maths teachers always want to give you the most marks they can give you. You know that? It might not look like that. Because I tell you which subject give you positive marking, CA marking, besides physics and accounting. Which other subject give you a positive marking? You write the wrong answer and they try and give you a mark for it. No subject. Maybe LO. No. You write about it. Not anymore. You see. But maths, you can make a mistake. We try and carry your mistake through. We give you a mark where we can. You see how nice we are? No? But you guys don't see it like. You always feel like the maths teacher is the worst at the school. No? I know already how you think. But we look at your graph and we try and see, okay, does this person actually know what they're talking about? Is his value between 40 and 50? Yes. So we give it to them. Make sense? Yes.
Also, can you please show again how you determine the tactical line between 45 and 36?
Remember the question was, use the OJAC to determine the median. The median is the middle number of sorted data. So there are 80 people. So the middle of 80 is 40. And that is where that value is. So we go 40 here, and as soon, and you use the ruler. The ruler must stand parallel to this x-axis. So we go bang, 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 bang. Once it hits a graph, we turn it around 90 degrees, and we take the reading on the x-axis. Okay. Next question. Determine the percentage of marketing calls received by people over the age of 54. Over the age of 54. So here's 50, 60. That is 55 here. Not so. So just about less than that is 54. I go up here, hit the graph, come over here. So what do you think that value would be now? It's 54 and 63. Any bar rate. Give me a value. Okay, I'll give you a value. 56. Can be about 56. Again, everybody's graph is going to be a bit different. Not so. Could it be a value less than 50, 53 yeah? Or 50, 52 yeah? No. Because again, it can't be this value here because of the boundary point here. Can you see that, people? So, it is just by approximation, and we get to about 56. So again, over the age of 54. So it's this part of the graph they're talking about. Can you see that? If they had asked below 54, it would have been straight 56 people. Not so. But since it's asking you above, so how many is above? So it's going to be 80 minus, remember that's 80 there, that reading up is 80, minus 56 divided by, how many people are here? How many people are there in total? 80, and we times it by 100. So that gives us, what's 80 minus 56? 24. 24 divided by 80 times 100. 30. Straight. 30%. But as I said, when everybody's graph will be a bit different. If it's different, it will be according to, there is a certain range in which it has to fall to satisfy that calculation. Does it make sense? Okay. So one question that wasn't asked, okay, many questions wasn't asked here. You could have read your upper quartile, your lower quartile. You can talk about the skewness of the data and all that. Just one question that I want to bring your attention to is, we could have worked out your mean from this data. Okay? And normally when that question comes in, the learners are stumped by it, and they lose like 3 or 4 marks on the question. So I'm going to show you how to calculate the mean from a distribution table as given here. The mean from a distribution table. So what we do is, we need to work out the class midpoints. Okay? So what's 20 plus? You see the 7. We don't know where that 7 is lying. We don't know if the 7 is lying closer to the 20 or closer to the 30. So we consider it to be in the middle. Then we don't know whether 20 is lying towards the 30 or the 40. So we again take the middle. So we use the average of the class intervals as well. Okay, so the averages of the averages. Okay. So if you add 20 and 30, you get 50 divided by 2 is 25. 30 plus 40 is 70 divided by 2 is 35. Then 45. Then 55, 65, 75 and 85. So these are the class midpoints. Okay. And what's the frequencies of the given classes? There it's given. So what we do is we say 25 times 7 plus. 25 times 7 plus. 35 times 20 plus. 45 times 25 plus. 55 times 12 plus. 65 times 8 plus. 75 times 4 plus. 85 times 4. And this is all over. How many entries are here? All people? 80. And that's how you work out your interval. I mean your median. No, your mean of the distribution table. Okay. So I'll give you a chance to work it out quickly. Bring your book quickly, my girl. Let's see. I'm going to pause the video. Okay, so at this point you guys have worked it out. And what is your mean here? What's your mean, people? Sorry? 37. 47. Comma 5. 75. 47, comma 75. So the mean would have actually lied in this category here. Okay? In that class interval of x is greater than 40 but less than or equal to 50. You guys understand? Yes. Any questions? You could have done the say for argument's sake, the question was you had to calculate the standard deviation of the data set. Then the calculation is a bit different. Then we need to know how to do it on the calculator. Don't blow like it, the radio. Right. So remember, we want the calculator normally we have it in that form. So to get the frequency, remember this has a frequency column now. To get the frequency on, we press shift, mode. Check on the calculator, shift mode. Use DC, no stat in. Huh? Press down arrow. You see the stat? There, number 4. The frequency must be on. So it looks like nothing happened. You go mode, stat, 1 for variance. Again mode, stat, variance. You see the 2 columns now? You all have your frequency on now, isn't it? Okay, so to put the frequency on, it's shift, Mode, when you set up, you're pressing down, the down arrow key. 4 for stat. Your frequency must be 1. There you go. So we enter this into this calculator. It's going to be 25, then 35, then 45, 55, 65, 75, 85. No? That's it. We move over. Now you see these frequencies 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Alright? But it's actually 7 in the first category, 20 in the next one, 25, then 12, then 8, then 4, and then another 4. Okay. Then again we press shift 1. Oops, I didn't press AC. I must first press AC so the calculator can store this. Now we press shift 1, 4 for variance, 2 for mean. 47,75. You see? If you understand deviation, shift 1, 4 for variance, 3 for standard deviation. Your standard deviation is 15,24 or 25. Okay? If that question comes in the combination of the two, 6 marks. 6 or 5 marks. Okay. You see how easy it is to get these marks in maths. You just need to practice it. Once you practice it often, you'll remember the calculation itself. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to give you a chance to read through question 3. Okay, you have answered this in the November exam. I'm going to give you a chance to refresh your memory on the good answers that you guys wrote on this question. Okay, I think this was the best answered question. All right, in the exam. So I'm going to pause the video at this point. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, no? So don't waste your time. Okay, so in question 3, we are told ABCD is a parallelogram. So if ABCD is a parallelogram, what comes to mind? Sorry? Palm parallelogram is the same. If they tell you it's a parallelogram, then 4 properties should come to mind, which is the properties of a parallelogram. What are the properties of a parallelogram? Opposite sides are parallel, yes? The angles are equal? No, that is, there are 2 shapes where that is evident. Only 2 shapes. No. It's squares. Trapezium. Right. Rectangle it is. Come on. 2 shapes. So 2 pairs of opposite sides parallel. That's number 1. 2 pairs of opposite sides. Okay, I'm rather going to give it because I am feeling embarrassed here. The visitor is sitting here and you guys giving all the foreign answers here. Alright, there's another one. What is the other one? Opposite. Angles are equal. And the last one that doesn't apply to this one here. The angles bisect each other. If there was a diagonal here, I could have marked it that there would be equal to that length. Okay. Didn't you guys do this in grade 9? Can't remember. But that's the reason why we taught you. So those properties should pop into your head immediately. Okay. Then we are told with A being -2 and -6, B which is 4 and 0, C -1 and 10, and D is X and Y as shown below. Okay. Die vraag is die. So the question, the first question, pertaining the shape. He says calculate the length of BC. Calculate the length of BC. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this over so I can do all the calculations on the side. Okay. So the first question is calculate the length of BC. Calculate the length of BC. So how do we calculate the length of a line? We're going to use distance formula. So for BC, it's going to be the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So it's going to be the square root of 10 minus 0 squared plus negative 1 minus 4 squared. So that will give us what? Put in the calculator. Square root 10 minus 0 squared. Oops. Now, okay, now to get the calculator back out of stat mode, you don't knock it every time. You press shift, or the calculator acts up whatever. 9, you're going to clear all, which is 3, equal for yes. So he says the square root, open brackets, 10 minus 0 squared, plus, open brackets, negative 1 minus 4 squared. Gives us 5 root 5. 5. Okay. Also note that I'm starting to populate the diagram. Not on the question paper. Okay, you can now on the question paper. But in the exam, you write it on your answer book. Write it on your answer book. Okay. Number 3.2, the question says, determine the gradient of AB. How do you calculate the gradient? Change in y by change in x. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus. So if you make this x1, that must be y1. x2, y2. Okay, as we know in the previous question we had to do the same. Okay? So it's going to be simply 0 minus 6 over 4 minus 2. So that gives us an answer of 1. So the gradient of this line is simply 1. Okay. Why do we populate the diagram? So at one glance, we can see exactly what we have calculated in the diagram. Okay. You all understand? I'm going to take this off here so that I can keep the diagram in focus, okay? Let's look at 3.3. The equation of CD. Now, to calculate the equation of a line, I need 2 points. Do I have 2 points? No, I only have 1 point. Or I can use a gradient and a point. Do I have the gradient of that line? I can determine it. The gradient of BC is the same as the gradient of AB. You now understand why is it important to know the rules of the quads. Okay. If lines are parallel, gradients are equal. So the gradient of DC is equal to the gradient of AB, which is equal to 1. So the equation now reads y is equal to 1x plus c. Now to calculate c, I can only substitute the point that lies on DC. So we can substitute which point? -1 and 10, which is the coordinate of C. Okay? That's a x and a y. It's a x and a y there. So that will simply be 10 equals 1 times -1 plus C. That is -1, we take it over, becomes +1, which is 11. Therefore y is equal to x plus 11. Okay. Any confusion there? No? I won't be able to pick that up. Okay, next question. Next question, the question says, determine the coordinates of M, the midpoint of BD. Determine the midpoint of BD. So here's M. But what do we know about M? M is also the midpoint of what? AC. And yeah, I thought we're not going to use a diagonal. Even that the rule that the fourth rule that we said, which I thought we're not going to use, we're actually going to use it here. Why? Because that M is the midpoint of AC as well as it's the midpoint of DB. You see that, people? So learn the properties of the quads. So, for M, it's going to be x1 plus x2 over 2. y1 plus y2 over 2. So that will give us -1 plus -2 over 2. Again, I'm calculating the midpoint of this line now. Okay? That I've drawn in there. y1, which is 10 plus -6 over 2. That will give us -3 over 2 and 2. Does that make sense, people? Is M on the negative part of your x-axis? Yes. Can the y value be positive? Yes. So that is the coordinate of it. Any confusion here? No? And then the last question, it says hence or otherwise determine the values of x and y. So what do you notice now? I've noticed now that I have the midpoint and I want to calculate the end point. There's two ways of doing it. I'm going to do both ways with you now. The one way that she actually wants you to have done it was by using these analytical methods. Okay? So remember, we have the end, the one point which is B, 4 and 0. We got now M, which we've calculated to be -3 over 2 and 2, and then D, which is x and y. Okay. Remember, that is the midpoint we're working with. So it's going to be x plus 4 over 2 is equal to be x mid, which is -3 over 2. I'm using the midpoint formula. y1, which is y, plus 0 over 2 is going to be y mid, which is 2. Okay. So what do I do now? Cross multiply. So it's going to be 2x plus 8 equals negative 6. I could have just said x plus 4 is equal to negative 3, x is equal to negative 7. But let's act like we don't know that. So you've got 2x equal to negative 6 minus 8, which is negative 14, divided by 2 is negative 7. Okay. On the other hand, that's naturally over 1, cross multiply. So you got y plus 0 is y equals 4. So therefore, d is going to be negative 7 and 4. If they had asked you to calculate the coordinates of d, but the question was to calculate x and y, so at this point, you are fine already, full marks. Okay, that's one way of looking at that sum. Alternatively, what we can do is we draw a parallelogram. D is here. Okay. We got C, which is negative 1 and 10. We got B, which is 4 and 0. And we got A, which is negative 2 and negative 6. Remember, in a parallelogram, opposite sides are equal in length. Okay? This is enough for 3.5. Alternative way for calculating 3.5. So that distance from there to there, does that affect my x or my y? X. So from negative 1 to 4, how many units is that? What? Okay. So in other words, from there to here must be how many units? Also 5. Not so? So if I go from negative 2 in that direction 5 units, what do I get? Minus 2 minus 5 is what? Negative 7. You see that? If I move across this, am I affecting my x or my y? I'm not going to start here because I has an unknown here. Can you see that, people? So do I affect my x or my y? Y. So from 0 to negative 6, what's happening? So there's a drop of 6 units. So I dropped this by 6. So what's 10 minus 6? 4. So D is negative 7 and both ways is acceptable. Remember, they wanted your x and your y. But I'm sure they would have given you full marks if you have given D there, because well, that is where x and the y lies anyway. Alright. Any confusion? Any questions? No. Then we went on to question 4. Another analytical question. In question 4 we are told P, which is negative 3 and 3. Here says negative 4 and 3. Which one is it? Negative 4 and 3. So there's a mistake here. No? Is that correct? Yes. She, I think, corrected it. P, which is negative 4 and 3, and Q is 2 and K, are the 2 points in the Cartesian plane such that the gradient of PQ is positive. Without them even telling this that the gradient is positive, how would I have known this gradient is positive? The graph is lying to the right, it's increasing. So the gradient is positive anyway. And has a distance of 2 root 10. Alright. First question. Question states, show that K is equal to 5. So definitely we're going to use distance formula. Why? Because the distance is given. Not so. So I say PQ's distance is going to be the square root of x1, no, x2 minus x1 squared x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So the distance here is going to be, if I make this x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay. So this will simply be negative 4 minus 2 squared plus 3 minus k squared. And PQ is what? The distance of PQ is 2 root k. So how do I solve for k here? How are we going to solve for k? Square both sides. Not so? So we'll square both sides. So 2 squared is 4. Root 10 squared is 10. So it's going to give you 40 equals that cancel. If you don't know how to do that, calculate is your friend. Negative 4 minus 2 squared is going to be negative 6 squared, which is 36, plus 3 minus k all squared. Take 36 over, it becomes 40 minus 36, which is 4 is equal to 3 minus k all squared. One of two things I can do here. I can multiply the binomial, the square out, and then solve for x, or I can introduce a square root both sides. If I introduce square root, what must I forget? Plus minus. So I get plus minus 2 is equal to 3 minus k. K on one side, so k is equal to 3 plus minus, or minus plus 2. So k is equal to 3 plus 2 is 5, or 3 minus 2 is 1. But what did they tell us? We must show that k is 5. So therefore, you just put a line there to show that it's 5. Or you can underline that k is 5. You all okay with that? Why is it two values? Because if I draw, this is a y value. If I draw this graph till there, that would have been 2 and 1. Will be the same distance as 2 root 10. Can you see that, people? And that is where that graph will lie. At that point of 2 and 1. But they wanted you to show it's 5, so that is where I'm at. Makes sense, people? And then the next question says, use the other color here. 4.1.2. 4.1.1. 4.1.2. Determine the equation of PQ. Now, P's coordinate is minus 4 and 3. And Q's coordinate is 2 and 5. Now, in this case, if you got k to be any other value than 5, you don't impose your value onto the sum. You must use what is given there. So you can't get positive marks if you had used the wrong k value. So here they're telling you what k is, what k should be. You guys understand? And irrespective, say for argument's sake, you didn't get that answer out, then you can use k to be 5 in the next calculation if needed. Make sense? So this question here says, determine the equation. So what do we need? The gradient, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay. So if that is x1, y1, x2, y2. So I get 5 minus 3 over 2 minus 4. 5 minus 3 is 2 over 6, which is the third. Okay. So what can I conclude now? Therefore, y is equal to a third x plus c. To calculate c, I'll substitute the point that lies on this graph. Either p or q. I'm going with q. Which is 2 and 5. That's your x and your y. So 5 is equal to a third times 2 plus c. So c is going to be 5 minus 2 thirds, which is 15 is 13 over 3 is equal to c. So what's my equation? Therefore, y is going to be a third x plus 13 over. Alright? Any confusion here? No? So from next week we will answer question 4.2 onwards, okay? So for homework for next week, at least you must read through it, and then we will do the answers to this on Friday. People enjoy the weekend. Good afternoon, class.